The crystal wing floated dead in space like a broken jewel. Its beautiful crystal walls, once shining bright, now had deep cracks running through them. Air was leaking out fast, making a soft hissing sound that Captain Zixara knew meant death. For her crew, she pressed her four-fingered hand against the communication panel, her blue skin pale with fear. The Veltari were peaceful explorers, scientists who had never hurt anyone. They studied plants and rocks on distant worlds, not weapons or war. Now 3 massive Morkith pirate ships surrounded them like hungry predators. "Captain, they're charging weapons," her science officer whispered, his voice shaking. The Morkith were known across the galaxy as brutal raiders who took what they wanted and left nothing behind. They had been hunting the crystal wing for days, waiting for the research ship to drift far from any help. Zixara's ship had no weapons, no shields strong enough to stop an attack. The Veltari had always believed the galaxy was safe, that civilized beings would help each other. She was about to learn how wrong that belief could be. "Send emergency signal on all frequencies," she ordered. "Tell anyone listening that we need help. Give our location." Her crew worked fast, sending the same message over and over into the black void of space. The signal traveled at light speed, carrying their desperate words to any ship that might hear them. But Zixar knew the truth. They were too far from any Veltari colonies. It was too far from the Galactic Council's patrol routes. The Morkith ships moved closer, their dark metal hulls covered in spikes and weapon ports. These pirates had raided peaceful ships for hundreds of years. They would board the crystal wing, steal everything valuable, probably sell the crew as slaves. Far away, near a small yellow star called Sol, Communications Officer June was having a quiet night shift. The young human sat at his station, monitoring radio signals from deep space. Earth had been listening to the stars for decades, hoping to find proof that other intelligent life existed somewhere out there. Chen's equipment picked up something strange, a signal that didn't match any human technology. Organized to be natural, too desperate to be anything but a cry for help. His training kicked in as he recorded the transmission and ran it through the computer systems. "This is impossible," Jun whispered, as the translation software worked. The message was clear. "Emergency, ... under attack. Need assistance, ... coordinates follow." Within 3 minutes, the signal reached Fleet Admiral Han's desk. The old military commander read the report twice, his weathered face showing no emotion. Earth's first contact with alien life was happening. During an attack on innocent beings, Han reached for his communication device. "Order Captain Kim's patrol fleet to investigate these coordinates immediately. Full combat readiness." Paused, knowing he was about to change human history forever, and tell them they're authorized to engage any hostile forces they encounter. The die was cast. Humanity was going to war before it even said hello. Captain Kim was drinking coffee in his command chair when the emergency alert screamed through the iron storm. The destroyer had been patrolling the edge of human space for 3 months, watching for threats that never came. Now red lights flashed everywhere as his communication officer handed him the message that would change everything. "Sir, priority." "One orders from Fleet Command," Lieutenant Park said, his voice tight with excitement. "We have a distress call from unknown coordinates. Possible first contact situation?" Kim read the orders twice, his dark eyes growing wide. In his 15 years commanding warships, he had never seen anything like this. An alien species was calling for help, and Earth was sending him to answer. He stood up, his tall frame casting shadows across the bridge. "All hands, battle stations," Kim announced over the ship's speakers. His voice stayed calm, but every human on board felt their hearts start beating faster. "We have received a distress call from non-human sources. We are responding immediately." The bridge exploded into controlled chaos. Weapons Officer Cho started charging the ship's railguns and missile systems. Navigator Lee plotted the fastest jump route to the coordinates. Engineering Chief Beak pushed the fusion reactors to full power, making the whole ship hum with energy. Kim watched his crew work with deadly efficiency. These weren't politicians or diplomats. They were soldiers from Earth, a planet that had shaped them into natural warriors. Every human had grown up hearing stories about protecting the innocent, about standing up to bullies. Didn't matter. That the victims this time were aliens they had never met. "Sir, the other ships in our patrol group are ready," reported Communications Officer Yoon. "Captain Rue on the Thunderstrike and Captain O on the Steel Fang are waiting for your orders." Kim nodded. 3 destroyers against unknown enemies? It would have to be enough. On Earth, humans had learned that hesitation meant death. When someone called for help, you moved fast and hit hard. Questions could come later. "Jump drive's ready, Captain," Lee announced from his navigation station. The massive engines that could fold space itself were warming up. Preparing to throw the human ships across impossible distances in minutes instead of years, Kim looked at his crew one last time before giving the order that would introduce humanity to the galaxy. These men and women had trained their whole lives for moments like this. Earth had made them strong, taught them to fight, shown them that survival meant protecting others as much as protecting yourself. "All ships execute jump," Kim commanded. Ironstorm and her sister ships disappeared from human space in flashes of twisted light. Behind them, they left the safety of Earth's borders. Ahead of them waited a galaxy that had never seen anything like human beings. Creatures born on a world, so dangerous that warfare was written into their DNA. In the cold darkness between stars, the 3 ships raced toward coordinates where pirates were about to learn why Earth was classified as a death world. The humans were coming, and they brought with them every lesson their brutal planet had taught them about protecting the innocent. Reality twisted and bent as 3 human destroyers burst out of hyperspace like angry gods. The Iron Storm, * Thunder, Strike, and Steel Fang * materialized in a triangle formation, their sleek hulls bristling with weapons that had never been tested against alien technology. "Captain," Kim's eyes swept across the tactical display, taking in the scene in seconds. A beautiful crystalline ship drifted helplessly, while 3 dark spike-covered vessels swarmed around it like vultures. Smaller ships were already attached to the crystal vessel's hull, boarding parties stealing everything they could carry. "Captain, I'm reading life signs on the damaged ship," reported Sensor Officer Nam, her voice urgent. "Multiple species, all showing signs of distress. The attacking vessels are armed, but using primitive energy weapons." Kim felt something cold settle in his chest. He had seen this before in Earth's history, strong preying on weak. Bullies taking what they wanted because no one could stop them. "Not anymore," Weapons Officer Cho. "Target the attacking vessels." "Do not hit the damaged ship," Kim ordered, his voice cutting through the bridge noise like a blade. "All ships, this is Captain Kim. We have hostile forces attacking civilians. Rules of engagement are weapons free. Protect the innocent." The Morketh pirates had no idea what was coming. Their sensors barely detected the human ships before death arrived at the speed of light. The Iron Storm fired first, her main railgun hurling a tungsten rod at a significant fraction of light speed. The projectile punched through the first, pirate ship's hull like it was made of paper. The kinetic energy turning metal into plasma, Captain Zixara watched through her ship's cracked viewports. Impossible things happened. The attacking vessels, which had seemed so powerful moments before, began exploding one after another. Brilliant flashes lit up space as the unknown ships destroyed her attackers with weapons beyond her understanding. "By the crystal ancestors," whispered her science officer. "What are those ships? They're weapons. They're using pure kinetic force and some kind of contained stellar fire." The second Morketh vessel tried to flee, but Captain Rue's Thunderstrike was already moving too. Intercept. Plasma torpedoes streaked across space, each one carrying the temperature of a small star. The pirate ship's shields lasted exactly 3 seconds before the superheated gas ate through their hull like acid through cloth. The last Morketh captain realized he was facing something new and terrible. These weren't the peaceful species his people had raided for centuries. These ships moved like predators, struck like lightning, and showed no mercy to those who hurt the innocent. He tried to send a warning to his fleet, but Captain O's steel fang silenced him with a spread of missiles that left nothing but glowing debris. From first shot to last explosion, The battle lasted 97 seconds. Kim stood on his bridge, watching the wreckage drift past. 3 enemy ships destroyed, 0 human casualties, and a rescued vessel full of beings humanity had never met before. His crew worked quietly at their stations, already scanning for more threats. "Sir," Communications Officer Yoon called out. "We're receiving a transmission from the damaged vessel. It's a thank you message, sir. In multiple languages we've never heard before." Kim nodded slowly. First contact with alien life, and it happened because humans had done what they always did. Protected those who couldn't protect themselves. The airlock hissed open, and Sergeant Bin stepped into an alien world, the Asterisk Crystal. Wing Asterisk smelled wrong. Sharp chemicals that would poison most humans, mixed with something sweet that burned his nose. But Bin's lungs, hardened by Earth's polluted cities and harsh training, filtered the toxic air without trouble. Behind him, 8 Marines followed in full combat gear, their rifles ready but lowered. Environmental suits not required, Bin reported into his helmet radio. Atmosphere is breathable for short periods, proceeding with rescue operations. The first thing that hit him was the beauty. The alien ship's walls were made of some kind of living crystal that glowed softly blue and green. Curved passages led deeper into the vessel, their surfaces smooth as glass but warm to the touch. Nothing like the metal corridors of human ships. "Movement ahead," whispered Corporal Jin, pointing down a hallway. Multiple life signs, some injured. They found the first group of aliens huddled in what looked like a laboratory. Bin had seen enough combat to recognize shock when he saw it, even on faces with 4 eyes and blue skin. The creatures Veltari, his briefing had called them, stood about as tall as humans, but were built like dancers. All graceful lines and delicate movements. "It's okay," Bin said slowly, holding up his empty hands. "We're here to help. No weapons." He gestured to his Marines, who immediately slung their rifles and pulled out medical supplies instead. One of the aliens stepped forward, Captain Zixara, though Bin didn't know her name yet. She spoke in musical tones that his universal translator struggled to process. When the machine finally worked, her words were simple. "You saved us. Why?" Bin looked confused by the question. "You were in trouble. We help people in trouble." Medical Officer Na pushed past the Marines, her small frame carrying a field medical kit that weighed almost as much as she did. The young woman had gentle hands and kind eyes, but Ben knew she could kill a man 12 different ways with her bare hands. Right now, though, she was focused on healing. "I need to check the wounded," Na said softly, approaching a Veltari who was leaning against the crystal wall. Green fluid leaked from cuts on his arm, probably their version of blood. "Can you understand me? I want to help." The injured alien looked terrified until Na opened her medical kit. Her movements were slow and careful, showing each item before. Using it, she pulled out a human bandage and gently cleaned the wounds. Her touch so light the alien barely felt it. "Your people," Captain Zixara said to Bin, her translator working better now. "They fight like demons, but heal like angels." "What are you?" "We're human," Bin replied simply. "From Earth." More Veltari appeared from other parts of the ship, drawn by the sound of voices that weren't screaming. They watched in amazement as these strange warriors distributed food, water, and medical supplies, without asking for anything in return. Na worked on 3 more injured aliens, using human medicine that somehow worked on their different biology. Her field training had prepared her for treating wounded soldiers, but she adapted quickly to alien anatomy. Each patient got the same gentle care she would give to her own squad mates. "I don't understand," one young Veltari scientist said too. "Marine Pack, you destroyed our attackers in seconds. Now you give us your food. Why do you not take our ship, our research, our lives?" Pack looked genuinely puzzled. "Because you needed help," he said, as if it was the most obvious thing in the galaxy. Captain Zixara's hands shook as she transmitted her report to the Galactic Council. The communication chamber aboard the Veltari rescue ship hummed with nervous energy as she prepared to deliver news that would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about life itself. Council Leader Pexmira, she began, her voice still trembling from the recent events. I must report first contact with an unknown species. They saved us from certain death. The holographic image of Council Leader Pexmira flickered to life, her A-tide face showing mild interest. The Galactic Council had dealt with first contact situations many times before. New species occasionally developed spaceflight and reached out to join the peaceful community of civilized worlds. Congratulations, Captain Zixara. Which system did these new allies emerge from? We shall prepare a welcome delegation immediately. Hey. Came from Sol 3. Zixara replied quietly. The silence that followed stretched for several heartbeats. Pexmira's forearms went rigid, and her eyes widened in what could only be described as terror. Behind her, other council members who had been listening casually suddenly focused all their attention on the transmission. That's impossible, Pexmira whispered. Sol 3 is a Class 12 death world. Nothing intelligent can evolve there. Our xenobiologists confirmed this centuries ago. Zixara pulled up the tactical recordings from the battle. Council Leader, you need to see what they did to the Morkith Raiders. The holographic display showed 3 human ships appearing from hyperspace. What happened next made several council members step backward in shock. The human vessels destroyed 3 pirate ships in less than 2 minutes using weapons that turned matter into energy. The precision was surgical, the power overwhelming. By the ancient codes breathed council member Vexstar from the peaceful Zephyrian worlds. Those weapons, they're using kinetic force at relativistic speeds, and those energy weapons burn hotter than our stars. How many ships did they send? Asked Councilmember Quiliona, her voice tight with fear. 3 small vessels, Zixara replied. They called them destroyers. When I asked their leader about the size of their fleet, he said these were just a patrol group. The council chamber erupted in panicked whispers. A patrol group with weapons that could obliterate the Morkith Empire's best ships. Their main battle fleet do? Pexmira called for silence with all 4 of her arms. Captain Zixara described these beings. Are they as dangerous as their weapons suggest? That's what makes this so strange, Zixara said, her voice growing thoughtful. After the battle, they immediately switched from destroyers to healers. Their marines gave us food, medicine, and protection without asking for anything in return. They seemed confused when we asked why they helped us. Confused? Pexmira asked. They acted like helping people in danger was the most natural thing in the galaxy. One of their soldiers said you needed help, as if that explained everything. Emergency alerts began flashing across the council chamber's communication systems. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy as the news spread. Species that had lived in fear of pirates for thousands of years were asking the same question. Could these Deathworlders really protect them? Sol 3 muttered Chief Xenobiologist Thexala as he pulled up planetary data. Gravity twice our standard, toxic atmosphere, constant weather disasters, active volcanism, massive predators. How did anything survive there, let alone become intelligent? Maybe, Pexmira said slowly, that's exactly why they became what they are. A world that dangerous doesn't create victims. It creates survivors. The implications hit everyone at once. For millions of years, the galaxy had been divided between peaceful civilizations and violent raiders. Now a third option had appeared. Warriors who protected instead of conquered. Space itself seemed to bend and twist as the human fleet arrived. 237 warships materialized in perfect formation. Their dark hulls bristling with weapons that had never been seen outside of Earth's solar system. At the center of this armada, the massive dreadnought Earth's shield hung like a sleeping giant, its bulk dwarfing every other vessel in the area. Admiral Seok stood on his bridge watching the tactical displays with calm eyes. At 62 years old, he had spent 4 decades protecting Earth from threats, both real and imagined. His weathered face showed no emotion as he studied the alien. Ships gathering nearby, peaceful vessels that looked more like art than weapons of war. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council delegation, reported Communications Officer Kang. They're requesting permission to approach for formal first contact. Grant permission, Seok replied, adjusting his uniform. Kang? Make sure all ship commanders understand we're here as protectors, not conquerors. But keep weapons ready. Trust is earned, not given. The Galactic Council's flagship was a thing of beauty, smooth curves and glowing panels that spoke of thousands of years of peaceful development. It approached the human fleet like a butterfly approaching a pack of wolves. Graceful, but clearly nervous, Ambassador Tolvera materialized on the Earth's Shield S-Bridge through their advanced transportation technology. Her six-limbed form, elegant and refined. Dude. She had been chosen for this historic moment because of her diplomatic skills and her ability to communicate with warrior species. Nothing in her experience had prepared her for humans. "Greetings, Admiral Seok," she said, her voice musical through the universal translator. "I am Ambassador Tolvera of the Galactic Council. Come in peace to welcome humanity to the greater community of civilized worlds." COAC nodded respectfully, but Tolvera noticed his crew never stopped working. Weapons officers monitored their systems, sensor technicians scanned for threats. Engineers kept the ship's defensive systems at full power. These beings lived in a state of constant readiness that made her nervous. "Welcome aboard, Ambassador," Seok replied. "We appreciate the Council's interest in establishing diplomatic relations. However, our immediate concern is the safety of peaceful vessels in this region." "Safety?" Tolvera looked confused. "Admiral, this area has been safe for over 200 years. The Galactic Council maintains peace through diplomatic with respect, Ambassador. We just destroyed 3 pirate vessels that were attacking civilians," interrupted Captain Kim as he joined the conversation via hologram from the Asterisk Iron. "Storm Seam. That suggests your diplomatic solutions aren't working." Tolvera felt a chill run through her alien physiology. These humans spoke about violence as casually as her people discussed the weather. "Admiral, surely such incidents are rare. The galaxy has been largely peaceful for millennia." "Peaceful for whom?" asked Admiral Seok quietly. "We've been monitoring your communication network since we arrived. The past year alone, we've detected over 3,000 distress calls from merchant vessels, research ships, and passenger transports. How many of those calls received help?" The ambassador's silence was answer enough. "That's what I thought," SEO continued, his voice remaining calm but firm. "Ambassador, humanity appreciates your peaceful intentions. But we've learned something important on our world. Sometimes peace can only be maintained by those willing to fight for it." Behind him, the bridge crew continued their work with quiet efficiency. These weren't politicians or philosophers debating the nature of conflict. They were soldiers who had been shaped by a world that taught them one simple truth: the strong protect the weak, or they become the enemy. War Commander Grixmal stood in the command center of his flagship Blood Harvest, studying holographic displays that showed the locations of every human ship in the sector. The massive Morkith battle fleet stretched behind him. 68 warships that had terrorized peaceful civilizations for over 3 centuries. Today, they would crush these upstart humans who dared interfere with Morkith's business. Deathworlders destroyed 3 of our raiding vessels. Grixmal growled to his subordinates, his scarred face twisted with rage. "They think their primitive weapons can challenge the might of the Morkith Empire. We will show them the price of defying us." The Morkith had built their empire on fear and overwhelming numbers. Their ships were crude but effective, designed to intimidate rather than impress. Spikes covered their hulls, and their weapons glowed with angry red energy that spoke of violent intentions 12 light-years away. Captain Lee received the intelligence report on his flagship Vengeance. His task force consisted of only 18 human vessels, destroyers, cruisers, and 1 heavy battlecruiser. Against normal odds, they would be hopelessly outnumbered. But humans had never been normal. "Sir, long-range sensors confirm 68. Enemy vessels approaching our position," reported Tactical Officer Shin, her voice steady despite the impossible odds. "They'll reach engagement range in 4 hours. Lee studied the tactical display, his mind already working through dozens of battle scenarios. On Earth, he had studied every major naval battle in human history, from ancient sea conflicts to modern space warfare. He understood something the Morkith did not. Numbers meant nothing if you couldn't use them effectively. Signal all ships, Lee ordered calmly. Battle formation Delta 7. We're going to show these pirates what happens when predators meet apex predators. The human ships moved with deadly precision, spreading into a formation that looked almost random to alien eyes. But Lee had positioned each vessel to create overlapping fields of fire while maintaining maximum maneuverability. It was a formation born from centuries of human warfare, refined through countless battles. When the Morkith fleet dropped out of hyperspace, Grixmal expected to see frightened humans trying to flee. Instead, he found 18 ships waiting. In perfect attack formation, their weapons already charged and ready. Impossible, he muttered. They should be running. The battle began when Lee's ships opened fire from maximum range. Human railguns hurled tungsten rounds at incredible speeds while plasma torpedoes streaked across space like miniature suns. The first wave of Morkith vessels never knew what hit them. Focus fire on their command ships, Lee ordered as his fleet began its deadly dance. The human vessels moved like a school of sharks, striking hard and fast before disappearing behind cover of their own weapon fire. Grixmal, in growing horror as his superior numbers meant nothing, the humans fought. Like nothing he had ever encountered, coordinated, relentless, and absolutely without mercy for those who preyed on innocents. His ships, designed to intimidate weak merchants, fell apart under the precise fire of weapons built for real war. "Sir, we've lost 30 ships," his tactical officer reported, panic creeping into his voice. "Ah! Their weapons are cutting through. Our hulls like they're made of paper. Impossible. We outnumber them 3-1. "Numbers don't matter if you can't hit anything," Captain Lee said over an open communication channel, his voice calm and professional. "This is your only warning. Surrender now, or we'll destroy every ship that threatens peaceful vessels." The battle lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, only 12 Morkith ships remained intact, their hulls damaged and their crews terrified. They fled toward their home systems, carrying news that would shake the galaxy. Commander, you stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Starbase Guardian, watching as human engineers worked alongside Veltari technicians to build something the galaxy had never seen before, a military base dedicated entirely to protecting others. The station floated at the junction of 3 major trade routes, its weapons pointing outward toward the dark spaces where pirates hid. "Sir, we're receiving our 15th distress call this week," reported Lieutenant Choi from the communication center. "Merchant vessel Peaceful Trader is under attack by unknown raiders in the Nexus system. You didn't hesitate. Dispatch squadron. 7. Full combat load. Time to intercept? 18 minutes at maximum burn, sir. Too long." He touched his communication panel. "This is Commander Yuta Captain Park aboard Swift Justice. You have authorization for emergency jump protocols. Get there now." The human response was immediate and overwhelming. Captain Park's destroyer materialized in the Nexus system just as pirates were boarding the alien merchant ship. The raiders, members of the Kethmori Alliance, found themselves facing weapons that could punch holes through their shields like they didn't exist. "Unknown vessel, you are interfering with lawful salvage operations," the pirate captain transmitted, trying to sound official. "Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Park's response was simple and direct. "This is Captain Park of the Human Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to release that merchant vessel and surrender, or we will destroy you." The pirates laughed. 1 human ship against 5 pirate vessels? It seemed like suicide 20-8 seconds later. 4 pirate ships were drifting wreckage, and the 5th was fleeing toward deep space with its engines on fire. The merchant crew, a group of peaceful Quillian traders, watched in amazement as their rescuers appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. Word spread fast through the galaxy's merchant networks. Human ships were everywhere now, appearing whenever pirates struck. Trade routes that had been abandoned for decades suddenly bustled with activity as merchants realized they could travel safely again. "Commander," reported intelligence officer Jang from his station aboard Starbase Guardian, "we're tracking 47 separate pirate organizations across 3 sectors. Their activity has dropped by 70% in the past month." You nodded, studying the tactical displays that showed Human patrol routes crisscrossing through alien space. They're learning. Pirates are cowards at heart. They only attack when they think they can win. The Galactic Council watched this development with mixed feelings. Ambassador Tolvera transmitted regular reports back to the capital, describing how these Deathworlders had fundamentally changed the balance of power in the galaxy. They don't ask for payment, she reported during one of her briefings. They don't demand territory or political concessions. They simply respond to distress calls and eliminate threats. It's like they've made protecting others their primary mission. The truth was even simpler than that. Commander, you had grown up on Earth, where every human child learned basic lessons about right and wrong. You helped people in trouble. You stood up to bullies. You protected those who couldn't protect themselves. These weren't military doctrines. They were just how humans lived. Sir, we have a problem, Lieutenant Choi announced during the weekly briefing. We're receiving more distress calls than we can handle. Pirates are getting desperate, attacking multiple targets simultaneously. You smiled grimly. Then we expand operations. Contact Admiral Seok, request additional patrol squadrons. An authorization to establish 3 more bases? Within days, human ships were patrolling trade routes across 5 sectors. The protection doctrine had become an unspoken promise. Attack peaceful vessels. And Deathworlders would find you. Captain Wan stood on the bridge of Guardian's Shield, watching dozens of merchant ships pass safely through what used to be called the Death Corridor, just 12 months ago. This stretch of space had been a graveyard where pirates hunted peaceful traders like wolves hunting sheep. Now it was the busiest trade route in 3 sectors, protected by human patrol ships that appeared like guardian angels whenever trouble started. Sir, we have 17 merchant vessels on scope, reported Navigation Officer Song. Cargo ships from 6 different species, all traveling together in a convoy. A year ago, none of them would have dared come this way alone. Juan nodded, remembering his first patrol through this area. They had found the wreckage of 12 ships in a single day, all destroyed by pirates who knew no one would come to help. The Galactic Council had written strongly worded letters condemning piracy. But words didn't stop raiders from killing innocent people. Captain, incoming transmission from the Veltari science vessel, Crystal Dream. Communications Officer Bay announced. They're reporting their cargo of medical supplies will reach the outer colonies ahead of schedule. They wanted to thank us for the safe passage. That was happening more often now. Alien crews going out of their way to thank human patrols for something humans considered basic decency. One still didn't understand why protecting people seemed so strange to the rest of the galaxy. On Earth, in the capital city's new embassy district, Ambassador Zixara stood before a massive window, looking out at the blue-green world that had changed everything. The Veltari diplomat had spent months learning about human culture, trying to understand how a species could be so gentle and so deadly at the same time. The children's playground confuses me most, she told her human aide, cultural liaison. Officer Min, your young practice combat games, but they also share their food with anyone who asks. How do you teach both aggression and compassion? Min smiled, watching human children play with young aliens who had come to Earth with their diplomatic families. We don't really teach it separately. On Earth, being strong means protecting others. Being kind means standing up to bullies. They're the same lesson. Through the embassy window, they could see the massive shipyards where human engineers worked alongside alien designers, building a new generation of ships. These weren't warships. They were rescue vessels, medical ships, and cargo haulers designed to carry hope instead of weapons. The reports streaming into Earth's military headquarters told the same story across the galaxy. The Morkith Empire had collapsed completely. Their surviving ships either destroyed or converted into legitimate salvage operations under human supervision. The Kethmori Alliance had disbanded after losing 90% of their fleet to human task forces. Smaller pirate groups had either surrendered or fled to distant galaxies where humans couldn't follow. Admiral, we're receiving surrender requests from 47 different raider groups, reported Fleet Intelligence Officer On during the weekly briefing. They want to negotiate amnesty in exchange for switching to legitimate shipping operations. Admiral Seok reviewed the reports with satisfaction. Proved, but with conditions. They work under human supervision for 5 years. Their ships get inspected monthly. and any backsliding results in immediate destruction. The transformation went beyond just stopping pirates. Trade between peaceful species had increased by 400%. Scientific expeditions that had been impossible due to raider threats were now routine. New colonies were being established. In systems that had been too dangerous to settle, Captain Juan received an emergency transmission that made him smile. "Sir, we have a distress call from a passenger liner in the Beta sector. Engine failure, no immediate danger. Dispatch rescue." "Ships immediately," Juan ordered. Then added something that had become the unofficial motto of human forces. "Someone needs help."